Jack Dangermond, and I'm just here today interviewing a very special person, a person I met 5 or 6 years ago, Felix Finkbeiner. You were 13 years old, now you are 19 years old.
I am indeed.
I was inspired by Felix at the European Users Conference because he came and gave me this audacious idea. Some kid just comes along and says, what did you tell me? You wanted to
Plant 1 trillion trees, I think.
plant 1 trillion trees. And I thought, oh, okay. I'm going to write this kid off. Nice little boy like that. That wasn't the case. Felix embraced the concept of GIS as a kind of platform for taking on this vision of planting trees to restore ecology. And, well, Felix, why don't you tell me your story again?
Well, Plant for the Planet started off as a very small school project 10 years ago. I was supposed to give a presentation in my class about the climate crisis. And when I prepared that presentation, I found out about Wangari Maathai. And I think she was also
my friend,
yeah, your friend and your big inspiration, I think. And she inspired us, my classmates and me, to start planting trees with the original goal of planting 1 million trees in each country of the world. And after about 3 years, we achieved that goal with children and youth planting their millionth tree in their countries, in the first countries. And we really thought about where do we go from here. And we found out that we could globally plant about 1 trillion trees. That's the maximum number of trees we could plant globally. So since then, our mission is to convince the world to plant 1 trillion trees. And to make that possible, we are creating supporting scientific research to support these goals. But our main goal is also to support all these incredible number of tree planting organizations that already exist everywhere in the world and make their work easier.
So rather than trying to do it all yourself, you're really collaborating and leveraging.
Exactly. There's so many wonderful organizations all around the world. Obviously, we are not the first ones to think about tree planting. So many people have been doing that, but they often lack resources to be able to track all of their work and, most importantly, to make it public. They generally lack funding and support internationally because nobody knows about their work, regardless of how well they're doing it.
Why are you doing this?
I think mostly because this affects us and our generation. Right? We always talk about the next generations when we talk about the climate crisis, but this next generation is really us. We are going to be the ones that are facing this problem. And it's our generation that's going to be the one suffering from this.
So the issues of climate change are fundamental and global and affecting all of us. We see it, for example, today in the big hurricane in Texas, these unusual weather events, or we see it here in Southern California mountains. All the trees are burning down. Millions and millions and millions of trees dying because of the effects of climate change. And yet we still have polarized politics about whether we can do anything about climate change, or whether there's humans that are actually the cause of climate change. What is your thoughts about this?
Yeah, I think that because of all of this, there's so many roadblocks on getting something done. And we children and youth, we just wanted to do something, wanted to get involved, and we found that tree planting is the easiest thing to do something.
In other words, forget about going right or going left, just go forward with planting trees, right?
Yeah, tree planting of course isn't the only solution. We can't solve these problems with tree planting, but no one can argue against tree planting.
It's something that we can all do.
It's something we can all do, and there can be huge arguments about basically all other solutions to the climate crisis. But no one can argue against tree planting, because even if you don't agree with climate science and don't accept climate science, there's nothing you can say about tree planting because of all the wonderful other benefits.
I love Felix. Don't you love Felix? Because frankly, it's those of you who know me know that I plant a lot of trees. I've planted thousands and thousands and thousands of trees. I just do it. That's what made me fall in love with your vision right away. It's going to take all kinds of human action to do it. But one of the ones that I love is this idea of being positive about the future by creating a more livable environment, and whether it's in cities or in nature, just plant trees. So this is a great thing. Well, I'm interested how you are using or plan to use GIS or technology to really help you.
Well, what we are developing right now is essentially a platform, we call it, or we conceive of it as something like an Airbnb or an Uber for trees. And it connects all these tree planting organizations all around the world with people that want to support tree planting on an app, on a web app and a mobile app, to make tree planting as easy as possible for everyone. That app will allow people to either register trees they've planted themselves, or to donate trees or donate money to tree planting organizations internationally. And obviously, to make something like that that work, we need to establish trust. People need to be able to trust these organizations all around the world that they are actually doing the wonderful work of tree planting. And to make that possible, we want to use, or we are using, Esri ArcGIS technology to make all of that work transparent.
That's really exciting. I think tree planting starts with where. And we think about the science of where. Where do you plant a tree? And I think some of the layers in ArcGIS Online can give some guidance or modeling about where not only what trees can grow, but also where we need to plant trees on a priority basis. Have you given that some thought?
Yeah, we are actually establishing a research institute at the moment. It's going to open its doors on this October. And one of the research priorities for this institute is, first of all, developing global maps of where these trillion trees can be planted exactly to incentivize communities to get active. But also one of the topics we're looking at is which trees are best planted where.
Right.
And what's really interesting here is that there's very little research onto growth rates of trees in different soils, in different countries, in different climates. So one of the things we want to use is through that global map of all these tree planting organizations that all map their tree planting work through ArcGIS. All that data will then be fed into that research institute, and they can then analyze that data and make suggestions of which tree species are best planted where on a global scale.
You know, Felix, I don't know if I ever told you, my original training was landscape architecture. And we spent a lot of time trying to figure out what trees grow where best. So there's this whole community of horticulturalists and landscape architects who not only understand trees and their habitats, but particularly the landscape architecture community, and we have some friends in common here, they're designing where. So we like to call that here geodesign, the next step beyond GIS. So GIS tells us where, but then designing alternative strategies for, let's put 1 million trees here or 10 trees there, that's kind of another step. And I'm kind of interested in this notion of how we can integrate in geodesign into your app.
That's a really fascinating thought to essentially provide that advice to all these actors around the world.
It's not just design, it's not just directive, like a suitability map. It's also beginning to get people to think about the idea of creating the future through this medium of landscape tree planting. So we create an experience, or we create a place with a certain kind of experience as human beings. So it's not just the ecological dimensions of tree planting, it's the human experience dimensions of making cities more livable, for example. Where should we plant cities, and where should we plant trees in cities to make them, cooler, or just being able to walk under trees. But then we have to worry about sustainable dimensions of tree planting. Do we have enough water, for example? Well, how can I help you?
Well,
how can our user community help you also?
Yeah, the user community can all tree planting organizations out there that are already users, or any organizations around tree planting all around the world can join in and provide their data and provide their work and make that transparent through our app when it launches on the 9th of March 2018, and to make all of that possible. And on the 9th of March, we'd like you to join us in Monaco, together with Prince Albert II. So we can.
This
we
sounds
can
good
launch
to
all
me.
that.
And all of my friends can
Yeah.
go with me, right?
Exactly.
Meet this special group of people. But yeah, I so much appreciate you taking a couple minutes and sharing with our users what you're up to. I think from my perspective, our users can start planting more trees.
That is the easiest thing
That's
everyone
the
can do.
easiest
Yeah.
thing. But also get behind your movement and tell people about it. And we'll be watching for your app so we can all participate better. Thank you, Felix.
Fantastic. Thank you.
You're very welcome.